you believe that we started recording right in the middle of 2020 with all of the COVID and lockdowns going on around us, unable to meet up? So like many a young gentleman, we turned to the internet for our entertainment. Tried to find a place where we could meet up and talk about the good, the bad, and that time that Stu saw a pelican on the canal. In order to facilitate our dreams of answering all of the big questions in film, and after a few attempts at recording via other methods to various levels of success, we found Zencastr, a super easy web-based one-stop shop for recording. Log in and you're ready to record in a matter of seconds. It doesn't take a tech genius to get high quality audio or video. And on top of that, the one time we have had an issue, the fact that the multi-layered backups are stored locally means it's easily fixed all in browser. There are plenty of tools you need when you start podcasting, so let Zencastr take that headache away, as it offers a place to record, edit and distribute all from one website. Any lazy bones Jones can pick up and play and have studio quality audio or 4K video put out for the world to see when using Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CAGEFIGHTING and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. And now, hit the music. Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. It's your main man Andy Gillard here. Hope everybody's keeping cool in this mini heat wave that we're experiencing at the moment.
Bring on a heat wave. Heat wave is good. I've been fine with it. We've got a pool. Put the pool up, pissed it down straight away.
Of course it did. Of course it did. I mean, to be fair, like yesterday, so like, spoiler, we're recording this on Sunday, yesterday, Saturday. It wasn't that it was hot, it's just there was no fucking air out there. So walking around, it was just muggy and uncomfortable. Like heat-wise, it wasn't unbearable, but it was kind of just a miserable day, I think, with the not really any rain, no breeze, nothing, and being in Wolverhampton. Always going to be a bit grim, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I went into the chippy in a vest.
And shorts, I'm hoping, Stu.
Yeah. But kind of like tracky bottom shorts. So like
okay,
like workout shorts.
Yeah.
So workout shorts, a black vest, and some sliders. I thought, yeah, this is peak. And then you look over the road to the Ashby pub, and everyone's wearing the same thing, and you see everyone's white shoulders like shining like beacons in the beer garden.
Incredible. I mean, it probably won't surprise you to know I went into Wolverhampton trainer shopping yesterday, because why not? So that was my day. I thought it's an excuse to try and be in somewhere with a bit of air conditioning for a couple of hours. So that was I didn't even find the fucking trainers I was after. I was gutted, but another story for another day. So I ended up buying a different pair of trainers instead.
Yeah, so there's some more. There's plenty of room from either.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say that, but these shelves are full. I moved some around the other day and I haven't got much space left. And yeah, I've ordered another pair of Jordans. And I'm trying to find these Autry trainers. I'm probably going to have to go into Birmingham for them to self-reduce. It's so annoying, but they look nice. And they're like 250 quid, which is ridiculous.
And yet, in the world of 28 days later, none of these things would have even existed, so you'd be absolutely fine.
Yes, very true. So I know we said we were going to be doing top 5, but I went Friday. Did you go Friday as well, Stu? Opening day, what? So that's the 20th of June, isn't it?
Yeah,
Did you go that day? So you did.
I was going to go Thursday night originally because that was the preview things. Brod cocked up because Mum went to go and watch a Fleetwood Mac tribute band at the Civic. No, at the Grand. Nice. At the Grand, sold out.
I bet it was.
Amazing, apparently. So I just had to reschedule that for the Friday. What
was the audience like? Was it busy?
It was sold out, completely full.
Wow.
Oh, for Fleetwood Mac or for the
No, for 28 years.
28 years later, so I went to the 7 o'clock showing on Friday night, and it was, considering it was what a bit 28 degrees, ironically enough, outside.
Yeah.
Um, Friday night, there was a lot of people in beer gardens, as you'd expect, and yet it was probably the middle third was full.
Mm.
I had a seat next to on the one side of me where I'd put my bag.
Yeah.
Of contraband, and that was like you see the odd ones scattered around, but it was probably about a third full.
It's a decent turnout, really, because I went at 1:30 on Friday to see it, and I'd say it was probably about a third full, which for a Friday, middle of the day when people are at work and school and stuff, that's a pretty strong turnout. I've been in the super screen on my own at that time on a Friday before to see a new release. And this one, it was probably at least 2 people on each row. So, like, you can tell, like, it was busy-ish for the time and date of it. So I was wondering if it was gonna be one of those weekends. And from the reports that I've seen, it's had, like, an $11 million opening weekend, and it could end up being one of Danny Boyle's biggest opening weekends of his career.
Mm. Well, after so long as well, and then 2 films, well, the first one especially being quite beloved.
Mhm.
I know I've said this many times about nostalgia is king and everything, and it really is, but even things like this where no one really talks about that much. And I know we talked about it last week anyway, like in passing, about how it influenced Walking Dead and all
Mhm.
that kind of thing. But I didn't realize how many people love them films. Like, you
Yeah.
know, who I've spoken to about zombie stuff, about like The Last of Us and things like that. No one ever mentions the 28 days or weeks at all.
No. Right, we'll put a pin in that because 'cause we'll start with 28 weeks, but I need to say there's a part of 28 years later that we need to spoil, but it needs talking about. So look on the description of this podcast. I will put the timestamp in for when we talk about the spoiler stuff. We will give you a warning and just skip ahead for the final part of the podcast if you don't want it spoiling. But there is something that is very divisive to do with the ending. You've probably seen it all across social media. We don't want to spoil the ending, but we do need to talk about it. So when we get there, I'll let you know that spoilers ahead and just check to what time to jump to for the last part of the podcast. But you are right. 28 weeks later, it has an impact and it has a legacy that is potentially the most important horror film of the 21st century. This is the one that gave us running zombies, and I know they're not technically zombies in the truest sense of the word. They're not the Walking Dead. They are infected with a disease that, the rage disease that means that they're not actually dead, so they don't have to have their brains destroyed quite like, the Romero zombies of way back when. What do you think of the running zombie as a general thing? Because historically, they were always shambling beasts who could never chase people down because they couldn't run. But this changed the formula, and then obviously it was copied again and again and again until we are where we are now. I think it was a stroke of genius. What do you think
Yeah.
about it?
And the fact that, like you said, they're not zombies, they are infected, and the fact that they can be killed and as it proves, yeah, we just starve them, as obviously. Bearing in mind, taking as read that people have seen the first 2 films at this point. We cannot skitting around them.
It's like 18 years since the second one, so I think at this point you've either seen him or you've not
Tight.
that interested. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, so the fact that you can leave them and they'll starve to death is quite brilliant, really. When you see especially with Walking Dead, where you see them rotting and they're part of trees and things, and
Mm,
they're still there yappering away. Yeah, in this, where yeah, if you leave them long enough, they are still biological entities. And yeah, everyone's seen Crank. We know what happens when you have too much adrenaline, and in theory, if it's the rage virus is some based around that kind of thing, you get the idea that it is. That it's supercharging people, then it makes perfect sense for them to lose their minds and just run
mm.
because that's what you want to do.
That's
There's
it.
some,
You've got all that energy that you want to expend, and yeah, it makes perfect sense. I do genuinely think it's a stroke of genius.
yeah, and when you get World War Z, Z for real people, uh, and that is the opposite end of the spectrum where it makes no sense at all. But you have got certain scenes where they're clambering over each other, and it looks amazing. Like, it doesn't have to make sense for it to be cool.
Mhm.
But in this case, and did you ever play Days Gone?
It does ring a bell.
Where
It's gone. I'm
yeah,
gonna go.
PS4, PS5, it's on both of them. You've probably got it on Plus.
I recognise it, but I haven't played it.
Yeah, even Price has played this one. It's a bike. Deacon St. John, the main character or name. But it's set in Oregon as well, which is a strange place to set these things. And he's basically a biker, but they're freakers in that. And they are hordes of running zombies.
Oh wow, okay.
And it's
And that does sound kind of fucking horrendous.
yeah,
Like genuinely quite scary.
and there's hundreds and hundreds of them. So you look at it. I mean, obviously PS4. I don't even know how it ran. Well, mine didn't. That's why I never played it properly. But obviously it's built for PS5 now, and it works.
Mm.
But yeah, that's the whole idea behind it being scary, that you can't run away from these things, and they are freakers. They're not zombies. They're something else. And again, the 28 days formula lives on because they're not mentioning the Z word.
Yeah, yeah. Question about the brains behind it. What is your opinion on Danny Boyle as a director? Obviously, he's an Oscar-winning director for Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah,
He's a very interesting director for me because he does do, like, obviously we've got Shallow Grave and Train Spotting, which feel very British, but then we've got stuff like The Beach, 28 Days Later, Slumdog, 127 Hours, which he was also nominated for an Oscar for. Like, it does feel like he's got this local boy done well feel, but also he's this international director as well. I don't think there are many directors who can pull that off, of feeling both independent and part of the establishment.
yeah. I think he went a bit too far when he was talking about how if he was doing the Slumdog Millionaire now, he'd pass it over for an Indian director. I thought, oh, come on. You don't have to get involved in this stuff. Just it was brilliant. It was a brilliant film. It worked perfectly. You don't have to go that far. So from that point of view, yeah, he's very much part of the establishment, but at the same time, he's his own person. And I like him. I like him for being weird. I like him for being strange and not really caring, which is why
Yeah.
that statement was a bit disappointing for me. Because I think you don't need to get involved in this stuff. It doesn't matter. It was a different time. And yet, things like even having him direct the opening ceremony of the Olympics in 2012,
Yeah.
which is possibly the most British thing to ever existed.
Yeah, very much so. And it's such a weird choice to have had that because, I mean, we know, like, his politics are front and center. We know who he is as a person. But he's never a showy director, is he? Like, you don't see him doing weird Dutch angles or, like, ridiculous oneers and stuff like that. Like, you just don't associate him with the over-the-top stuff. So for him to have directed that, it just felt so left field. And don't get me wrong, it's probably the best Olympic ceremony that has been. It was amazing to watch. But it just felt like such an odd choice, and he absolutely smashed it out of the park regardless. He did a great job with it. Just a weird one, I thought.
Well, and not just because it was here. Like, how many other opening ceremonies can you name of anything ever, other than
Usually
saying like
it's forgettable, aren't they? I mean, and yeah, that's only memorable because it was dog shit. Where she misses the penalty. Like, it's only memorable for the wrong reasons.
yeah.
But whereas this wasn't. This was actually a celebration of like what people actually like. It was great. Favorite film of his, if you removing 28 Days Later, what would you say is your favorite?
It probably would be Train Spotting.
Mm.
Again, probably because I hadn't seen anything like that before. I mean,
Okay.
how old we would have been? Obviously, too young to have legally watched it.
Yeah, I It was 1996 it was released. I watched it on an away day to Bradford, on the coach that they were playing videos on it. That was the first time I watched it. So that'd have been probably late 96, 97, something like that. So yeah, I'd have been 14. I definitely shouldn't have been watching Trainspotting at that point. Like, even on the coach, I remember the baby's head turning around as it's crawling on the ceiling. Like, definitely not appropriate for younger eyes.
Yeah, I don't think mine was on a couch. I think it was someone had the video of it though.
Mm.
And like everything else, like the Confessions films, it was passed around the teenagers. Low wildfire. Yeah, so it would have been on video, like taped. One of the I know probably Harp actually, who had the dual video recorder or the capacity to link two together to copy them from Blockbuster.
Yeah, those are the days.
So, as in the old days of when I used to copy DVDs and sell them on. There's a bit of pocket money in the old sixth form.
Yeah.
Inkjet printer, print the, print the covers out and everything. It's amazing. So over 20 years ago, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's probably Trainspotting for the weirdness, for the influence. I know the music choice is probably not all down to him, but the vibe of that film and the careers it launched as well.
Yeah.
Class.
Yeah, it is outstanding, isn't it? Did you ever see Shallow Grave, the film he did before Trainspotting with Ewan and Christopher Eccleston, who's also in 28 Days Later?
Yeah.
That's a good film. That's one that I think you'd really like as well. Like,
yeah, I've got a feeling I have.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, so it's 3 flatmates, including McGregor and Eccleston, find their 4th flatmate dead, but loaded. So things go awry as they're trying to help them.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous movie. Really good. I'd say my favourite might be Sunshine, you know? Like, I like a good sci-fi. And it sort of doesn't make sense because if the sun is gonna go out, if the sun's gonna extinguish, we're not gonna be able to recharge it.
No.
It doesn't make any sense. But it was a really good film with just this really interesting central idea to it. And Cillian Murphy, it might be the first Cillian Murphy film I remember seeing him in, and he was brilliant in it.
For some reason, I was mixing that up with Moon, and it wasn't him.
Oh, Moon is Sam Rockwell. I love that film.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant movie. But yeah,
Sunshine's good, actually, yeah.
Yeah, good film. I didn't realise Chris Evans was in it until seeing it now. It's been a few years since I've seen it. But yeah, Cillian Murphy, Rose Byrne, Benedict Wong, Michelle Yeoh. It's a cracking cast, and it's definitely worth watching if you haven't. And of course, it's got Mark Strong, who's another actor I've just got all the time in the world for. It's got some really good movies, to be fair to Dan. I don't think I've ever walked out of a film of his and thought I didn't enjoy that. Even if it's not brilliant, like The Beach is sort of fine, but I wouldn't say if it was on, I wouldn't turn it off. Like, it's a watchable movie. I don't think he's done a bad film, if I'm being honest. I think there's some that are just weaker, but they're all inherently an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I don't remember liking The Beach at all. But again, you're talking 15, 16-ish?
The Beach was 2000, so yeah 16.
Yeah, because you had the was it called The Beach in where Surfers Paradise was? Was The Beach one of the theme nights?
I don't remember. Yeah, actually, yes, it was. Yeah.
Because I remember that maybe it was an under 18. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but I remember them playing the All Saints song,
Pure Shores, which is a fucking belter, to be fair. Like, All Saints for class.
And it being there, and it being the thing that people... Well, it was the school because people had come back on the Monday talking about it, so it must have been either they were getting in because they knew someone and had fake ID, which I doubt looking at them, or it was an under-18s night, which would make sense.
I think by 2000, I was definitely in the over 18 clubs. Like, I was no longer the teeny boppers.
You're only for over 50s now.
Almost, yeah. Getting there. my first ever like proper date was to go and see the beach. Went to a college party at like Millennium or wherever in Dudley. It doesn't exist anymore. Met some girl, and then yeah, like later that week went to see the beach, and then never texted her again because I'm cool like that.
Did you have
Yeah.
the
I don't
white trousers on?
the white trousers was much later than 2000, which is probably worse. The white trousers would have been had that been 20 years ago, so it'd have been 2005 because I had the white skinnies because I wanted to be Johnny Burrell. And Johnny Burrell was at Live 8. Live 8 was the 2nd of July, 2005. I only remember that because that was the same day that I went to see Oasis at the City of Manchester Stadium. That's the only reason I remember it. So we are very close to the 20th anniversary of me deciding I needed to get some white skinny jeans.
Photos available, people. Ask her.
Great days. Great days. 28 days later, anyway. Shit. I love the fact that this film obviously was created prior to 9/11. But I do feel that this might be the film that most explains the post 9/11 paranoia that infected the world. Like I feel like the whole film it's about this paranoia of the other. And I think you can see that with like the way that the army are portrayed and the people at the bottom of the rung who are trying to get it's all about this other thing that other unknown thing out there. I feel like it's the most, as I said, the most post 9/11 film that we've probably got within the preceding 5 years or so.
Well, it came out after 9/11, but they were filming it when it happened.
Yes. Yeah, there would have been.
So you got the added irony, the whole thing about the walking through deserted London and everything, which obviously happened again 20 years afterwards.
Yeah. That's another thing I've got here because it's very prescient that this hasn't gone away.
Yeah. And that, like, who do you trust? Do you trust the people in charge? And like when you had the thing on in the tower block, so well, why would they be? Why would they help us? That's too far away. Or do you trust someone you've just met because you've flashed some Christmas lights at them? I mean that is that. Watching that film again, I'd forgot the Christmas, the constant Christmasness of it all. Weird, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it in there where you look back and you think, well, when was Contagion? Was years after what? 2015, something like that.
Contagion was 2011.
Whew, even longer than I thought.
Steven Soderbergh, he's another director I've got a lot of time for. Good film that is, actually. I haven't seen it for a good few years though.
Yeah.
One thing I loved in 28 Days Later that I don't remember seeing in any other zombie film, when the dad gets infected through the blood dropping into his eye. I remember when that happened, I remember being in the cinema just absolutely fucking stunned at it because it was such a simple thing. And I thought, I've never seen that before. And I would have been quite young, in fairness, but that felt very unique. And I think that's part of what I like about Danny Boyle is that I do think he's capable of thinking outside the box as a director. And Alex Garland as a writer, I think they're both, they work so well together.
Yeah. You know, the whole thing about that is, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they use the same bit of motorway and just reversed the shot and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because they're perfectly fine to shut the motorway off at night when you get out from an away game and you have to go through Knutsford, which I shouldn't know what Knutsford looked like. There's no need to know what Knutsford looked like in the dark. But yeah, the whole thing about that, how it's on the gantry with a crow pecking at someone.
Yeah.
And you thought, oh dear. But yeah, I think what works for it is the fact that it takes literally seconds. And so you've not got the whole drawn out thing of like, yeah, it'll be okay. We can chop your arm off and save you in like they do in The Walking Dead, which got a bit silly in the end. But as soon as it happens, well, you're done now. You're done for. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about it being it's Huddersfield, isn't it? Where they actually are.
Yeah, I'm just looking on IMDb. For the scenes on the motorway, the production got permission to shoot on the M1 on Sunday between 7 and 9 a.m. The police gradually slowed traffic in both directions using 10 cameras. The filmmakers managed to capture a total of 1 minute usable footage. But yeah, M1, so we're probably looking up towards Yorkshire Way.
Well, that far close from what they say in the message as well. Something north of Manchester. That's roundabout there because it's where that weird farm is in the middle of it. You know that? Have you been up there? Where there's a farm in the middle of the motorway.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
I remember now because I've been to Huddersfield a couple of times. Weirdly.
Yeah, it's roundabout there.
Okay.
But the whole urban myth, that the farmer would refuse to sell up, and no, it's just because the ground's too unlevel. So they just did it, made it around it.
Makes sense, to be fair. So yeah, like 28 days later, I think it's the best of the three, based on what we've seen so far. I do think I just think it's a very, very good film, and I can see why we are, 23 years later, and it's still getting, people are still going to this film, still watching it. It was on last week at Cineworld, and granted, a lot of people would have gone to see it in preparation for seeing the next one, but it had sold out for the Friday night at 7:30. Like, people were still going to it. I can absolutely see why, because I do think it is one of these films that it transcends the time that it was made. I really do. I think it's got that about it, which is incredible.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter when. Obviously, it does matter when we'll come to continuity errors in weeks in a minute, but the setting it when it was, because that's when it was, works perfectly because of the phone situation, because you don't have phones.
Yeah.
And so, well, it makes perfect sense then. So it's timeless, accidentally future-proofing themselves. And like you have the whole thing when you get to the mansion as well, and they're just on them radios, and there's nothing really there, other than them weird bell ends. And I believed it at first as well. Look, I mean, even when on the rewatch, I thought, I don't remember him being a nice man, and obviously he wasn't. I promised the guys with him. Yeah.
Eccleston's excellent in this as well. I don't like. I was aware of him as an actor because we'd seen him in bits, but it was mostly TV. There's that one where he was Jesus, or thought he was Jesus. And there's a few bits that we'd seen him and known about him, but I never really paid that much attention to him until Doctor Who would have been probably the one where I really knew who he was as an actor. But having now watched this back, he's a wonderful bastard in this film. Really, I love how stern and straight and down the line he is, but there's just that undercurrent of evil to him. I think he's brilliant in this film.
So did he do this and Gone in 60 Seconds in the same year?
Gone in 60 was 2001, was it? So that they would have been potentially back to back.
What?
2000 that was released.
Oh, so close. We're a body of work. Going from working with Sir Nick to doing a zombie film. Yeah, I thought the whole thing about, especially being 25 years old now as well, and you think, well, okay, female empowerment, it's the woman's going to win. Imagine the actual rage that would happen now if this came out, and you ended up, even regardless of the whole last lady situation in horror film and whatever. That was what I was thinking when I was watching it again a couple of weeks ago. I thought, yeah, this would be ripped apart now, just because why does, and especially a black woman, God forbid.
Yeah. Oh, people would be decrying woke nonsense. Like, how many fucking Sean Dyche memes would be flying around Twitter over this film? But even on the other end of the scale, because I can't remember what it was, but there was recently something where there was an implied rape scene in a film. And I was watching the scene where the officers, the army, were going to rape the main woman and the young girl, and she gives the young girl those drugs in order to, just try and put her mind out of it. And I just thought, well, the other end of this, could you imagine the people crying about the implied rape or, taking it up to the line of rape of a minor as well? Like, it feels kind of cliche to say it. I really don't think this film would be made now. I think people would be in an absolute furore over it, and it's not that. Like, there is so many other plots and themes that are being discussed in this film that I think that's needed, because one of the things I do think very much is about the representation of masculinity, both toxic and positive masculinity. When you look at someone like Cillian Murphy's character, who starts out as, I want to say, passenger, like he's there for the ride to just get to where they need to go. But then you've got the toxic masculinity of the army who were, the uber masculine guys, and they're there to fucking fist and kill. And that's what they're there for. Like, so I think that you do need that. It wasn't rape, but it was taken up to like the second before. I do think you need that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it shows, I mean, bearing in mind as well, it's been less than a month. And look what's happened. Less than a month,
Yeah.
and everyone's gone feral. And you don't show that unless you're going to be raping little girls.
Yeah.
And it needs to be there. It's perfect. And when the whole time capsule thing works perfectly, again, unintentional, but watching it now with all the strange Pepsi product placements in it, but being the old Pepsi logo and the old can, yeah, class. Whether got that in front of, no, that it was filmed, but you could just buy them in the shop.
I think they did a good job. This isn't really a spoiler for 28 Years Later, because I think it's showed in the trailers. They show the Sycamore Gap tree still being part of it. And I like that they do that, because I think they show this is where the timelines diverge, or not diverge, sorry, where they split. So I think that that's what we're watching, is that was the world, and then it sort of splintered off into it. And I think that's the moment that it happened.
Is it not back now? Did they not fix it?
No, I don't think so. I think it's I think they're doing something to regrow it using some of the actual DNA of the plant. But I don't think they can just sort of like glue it back together, so to speak.
You're not going to glue it back together.
Yeah, I'm sure I'd read they were going to Dolly the sheep. How they cloned it. I think that's the plan, is to use some of the remnants of the original tree to regrow it.
Okay, so
Dolan said earlier, like he teared up when he saw that tree. I got a bit emotional myself. I was like, it's quite sad, really, isn't it? That
because there was a few as well. Like, how many people do you even know who care about that thing?
None. Like, I mean, I've never had this is the first conversation I've ever had about that fucking tree. Like, it's really weird, and it is weird that, obviously, being fans of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and part of that film is done there. Like, actually, that it sort of is ingrained in British culture. I think that the memory of it, at least, especially with people of our age.
I mean, you don't win the 2016 England Tree of the Year award for no reason, do you? Apparently, it sprouted from the stump that was left.
Okay,
so it's growing back on its own.
Amazing.
So 150 years old that was, until that cunt chopped it down. Or two men in Cumbria. Yeah, because I only think I only drove past it a couple of times. Like, knowingly going past it. Oh, who cares about that? But it was
tree. But then
very strange being there as well. Like, on its own.
Yeah.
Why would it be there?
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from days to weeks, then, Stu. This is alien to aliens to me. Like, it's a complete different film and a complete different genre. And I'm not saying that to like diminish Weeks. I think Weeks. I only saw it for the first time this week. I really enjoyed it. For some reason, I'd seen the second half of it, but I'd never seen it from the very start. I really enjoyed it. I thought, yeah, really good film. Good, solid. It was probably closer to a B movie than the other two films, because it did have that sci-fi meets action genre flick. Like that's how it felt, and that's not a bad thing in any stretch of the imagination. I did enjoy it, and they sort of built on the lore of the world, which, spoiler for 28 years, they didn't really do that. It's like we had that kid Andy. His name is, funnily enough, who had the who was carrying the rage disease, but it wasn't infecting him.
Mm.
So they built onto that, and then it wasn't really touched on in years. I kind of want to see more of this as well. Like I kind of want a bit more world building post 28 weeks later as well.
He said, I mean, this is not a spoiler for in years. It's literally the title crawl saying that the virus was pushed back from continental Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not spoiling it at all. This is literally the first seconds of the film. But he
So
said,
it is true. It's fucking Brexit. That's when Europe said, "Fuck them. They can deal with it themselves."
apparently, he said that Paris was nuked to contain it in an interview. So that's how it's done. There we are. So if France has gone as well, then that's their fault. Sodom. But yeah, the whole thing about finding someone who's immune or a bit like, again, you talk about The Last of Us, already mentioned it, and obviously that's where they got that idea from as well with Ellie. Obviously it's a bit older than that as well, but in contemporary circles, it's the one that you'd think of more than anything else. And just having I thought that was really clever as well, having the red bit in the eye, showing it growing.
Yeah.
I think, yeah,
Cool that was.
it's in her blood. And that moment where he's leaning in and it's a kiss, and you think, oh no.
Yeah.
But
that shocked me. I wasn't expecting that at all. Because I think I must have seen it right after that part, because I don't particularly remember seeing Robert Carlyle in any. I just remember Hawkeye and the kids. That's most of the stuff that I saw. So yeah, that did surprise me. I was like, oh shit, that's how they ended up on their own then.
Robert Carlyle having the time of his life in this film.
Like he proper gives a big performance. So the part after he kisses the wife and then starts to lose his everything, I was really impressed with how much gusto he gave the fit that he was having in losing his control and everything. I like Robert Carlyle, but I've never thought, oh, actually, you're a very good actor. I've always thought you're always fine in what you do. I was really impressed with him in this.
You need to see him in The World Is Not Enough, where he's got a brain. He's got a bullet in his brain, killing him slowly.
Is that a Pierce Brosnan one?
Yes, it is.
I may
the
have
third one.
seen that.
It's got what we call training as well. And Goldie.
It's a bit random. Was that Denise Richards?
Yeah.
What was it?
Christmas
Jumbo
Jones.
Christmas or something. Christmas Jones, that's it.
I thought Christmas only come once a year.
Dear Christ, I have seen that one. That's one of the very few that I've seen. Horrific. One of the themes that was explored in 28 Weeks Later is the illusion of control, which again, I feel is a very post 9/11 thing. It is this case of we feel like we're protected because the Americans are there with their big guns and everything. But ultimately, there's only one of them left at the end of it. Like, they all get fucked up on it. I thought that was quite a clever way of showing like world politics in a microcosm, because it is very much the Americans are the overlords in this, and we're supposed to be doing what they're saying to try and contain what's going on with it all. But actually, they're just as fucked as everyone else because it's impossible to control.
Yeah. And the irony of the Isle of Dogs as well being the safest place on Earth. But yeah, the whole it was enjoyable, the whole thing about how they were going house to house, but they hadn't had the time yet to do it all. So there was like I think
cutting corners and
you know what you're doing. This is where you've got your little things where you go and your little chop and bring people back, and you got the dude bros again, as you did in the first one, which I don't think Danny Bull likes the military very much. But the whole thing with the kid actors not being shit again, very good in this one. As I thought she was not the best in the first one. But again,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Low budget. So she served the purpose of almost getting raped. So there we are. But yeah, the ones in this one, very good. And I think intentional B movie, maybe. Like they obviously had a much bigger budget, so they fleshed it out a bit more. And having him playing Hawkeye was quite enjoyable as well. Before
He was, wasn't he? He was just Hawkeye again.
yeah,
That guy does not have a lot of range.
it was. Was this the reason he got hired? Probably.
Quite potentially. I mean, when was the first? Was it Thor? Was it his first appearance? What, 2000 and I want to say 10?
I think it was later. Was he in Thor?
Yeah, it was the first time we saw him was in Thor, when Thor went to rescue his toolbox.
Yeah, Thor 2011.
2011.
Yeah, 28 weeks.
2007.
Yeah. So yeah, he probably was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quite possibly. Like, he's a fine actor. What's his face? I can't remember his real fucking name. He's just Hawkeye. Like, he's all right, Jeremy Renner. But it's another one who I've never seen him and thought you were a master of your art. I've always just thought you can do a job, which isn't a bad thing. Like, he's dependable, I feel. And there aren't many films where I've seen him and thought you're dog shit, but I've never seen him particularly excel either. But he's decent in this, I think.
Yeah, I saw him in something the other week. I thought, oh, it's you again. And he was fine in that as well. You know what? You know what? You haven't seen The Hurt Locker, have you?
No, I haven't.
There you go. So
Is that everyone? Is that his film?
I mean, everyone. It's everyone's film, really.
Oh, right.
Everyone is stunning in that film. But again, you like war stuff, so you might as well give it a go.
It's been on the list for ages, to be fair, but it's just never found the right mood for it. Because I do like Catherine Bigelow as the director, so yeah, I will get around to that one at some point.
He's in Arrival as well.
Arrival's good. I'm a big fan of her, though. I do love Amy Adams. I think she's great. And he's fine in the Mission Impossibles. He's just kind of overshadowed by our pal Tom.
Spoilers.
Yeah. And the Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters film, which is kind of terrible. But I do love Gemma Arterton, so I kind of like that. Like, he always holds his end up, I think, is the thing with him. He never really lets the team down.
Yeah. Saturday Night Live, he was, would he work? Because he's not got a really comedic face, has he? So it might work that way.
He's okay in Tag, which isn't the best film, but he's quite funny in that. I think because he's like kind of the straight man to it all. So that does help it. I think that's where his comedy chops come from, being the straight man to somebody like Ed Helms in Tag.
Well, have you seen this? The Mayor of Kingstown. Never even heard of it before. It's the McCluskey family of power brokers tackling themes of systematic racism, corruption, and inequality in Kingstown, Michigan, where the business of incarceration is the only thriving industry.
8.2. That is an incredible score for something I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
I would say Paramount Plus is probably worse than Apple TV when it comes to promoting their stuff. Because they've had a few decent things on there that just doesn't get any advertisement whatsoever.
I know no one else in this whatsoever.
Like Hugh Dillon and Taylor Sheridan, I recognise those names as the creators. I don't recognise their faces.
Aidan Gillen in something before. Is he Irish?
Aidan Gillen is the Irish. He's Littlefinger in
yeah, there we are.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
it's not an Irish film unless Aidan Gillen's in it. Like when it comes to just any Irish independent film, if there's no Aidan Gillen, it's not Irish funded.
Yeah, look at his IMDb picture. He does not look like the same person.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't, to be fair to him.
Yeah, so Jeremy Renner has got a series that no one's heard of. There we are. So that's the takeaway from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think him being the one that sacrifices himself as well. I didn't expect that to happen back in the day.
Mm.
In the car, where
Yeah.
he gets out and his people are coming for him in the mist of the wherever that stuff is, the tear gas to kill him off.
Mm.
But I mean, the biggest problem is Wembley. I mean, let's just get it out of the rack. Fucking joke.
I get it. I get why they use Wembley because it's iconic. But why? Why couldn't that just have been a field in England? I don't really understand it. If I'm honest, I think he's there just for the recognition of it.
Yeah, and the recognition when it wasn't done, when it wasn't finished, it wasn't even built.
It wasn't.
Like this is the only point that's annoying because, yeah, it's never explicitly said that this is 2002. You just expect it to be, so it's early 2000s, which is the way they can get ready.
Mhm.
And you see the outside of Wembley, but that's why they have to use the Millennium Stadium inside.
Mm.
And why go through all the trouble of colour changing all the seats and putting Wembley in the seats to then go and film in Cardiff for what's effectively a minute and
Yeah.
put some CGI long grass in there. Bizarre. When everyone,
Why not? Why not just set it in Cardiff and have it from the Millennium Stadium then?
the best thing to have done was to use half-built Wembley. That would have been class.
Yeah, actually, that probably would have made more sense as well because it would be, part destroyed, and it makes sense to the world that they're building.
Yeah.
It's a weird decision. It really is. I think ultimately the issue with, other than obviously the end of this film, is that the virus escapes. That's how the rest of the world gets fucked. This film doesn't really have much in the way of consequences. That it doesn't hold much weight. It's an enjoyable film, regardless. But in the 3 films, you don't particularly need to see this film in order to get what's going on.
No.
It doesn't have the impact that I think it potentially could have. But at the same time, I kind of would have liked to have seen more from this thread of story.
Yeah, and I think the room's there as well to fit that in. It probably would better as a TV show if they ever got the money.
Yeah. Even a comic book, I think, would be kind of cool.
Like
But then I suppose we've had Walking Dead, so who knows?
Yeah. the fall of France.
Mm.
Buy that on the name alone. Well, it's some. I mean, obviously having camera fell. Look, it's the French getting me back. Why is that fell off me? I think the
All right, there, Stu.
the beer mats that hold it up have now fell off the table, so that you're gonna have to go the Leslie Grantham angle. But
Just don't get your cock out. That's a spoiler for 28 Years Later.
oh Jesus, no, not talking about it yet. I mentioned that as a way around not telling anyone anything, and you obviously know it. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I meant.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be perfect. I know we had the Daryl Dixon series setting in Paris,
Mhm.
and France, which again is very far fetched in the extreme. And seeing it something different be ruined like that is always good.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take a lot of money, but I think it wouldn't surprise me if they do that kind of thing now to kind of retrofit it back and say, yeah, okay, this is what happened afterwards.
Could do quite easily. Could turn this into a whole, globe-trotting world. Like, yeah. And I think people would be in for it as well. Especially because I think we've got the evidence now where it appears as with 28 years later being hitting the ground as being as popular as it is, I genuinely don't think that people wouldn't be disappointed if they filled in some of the gaps from the in between times.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd be well up for more of this world. And especially because I kind of like the anthology idea. I always quite enjoyed it in The Walking Dead when they did the anthology series. Like, the good episodes were brilliant in, what was the anthology series called?
Tales of?
Tales of the Walking Dead, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They had some really good episodes, and some were super serious, some were quite light and comedic, and they had those different things. And I think they could do that to 28. I think
Mhm.
that'd be kind of a cool thing to do.
Yeah, because you've got you've not just here either. I mean, you have got the Isle of Wight as well.
Mm,
What happened there? You've got
yeah.
Jersey, Guernsey,
We can have the
Isle of
Americans'
Man.
reactions to when it started and why they came over to control it. We've got what's happening in Europe, obviously how it spread there, and then, like you say, Paris getting bombed to shit to control it. Like, there are a lot of stories that they've hinted at that I think people would like to see more of.
Yeah. Hmm. We obviously I didn't. I saw all I saw in the trailer was one of them slug things on the floor.
Mhm.
And I thought, oh, okay, interesting. And then I don't remember much else, so the method works.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad going in knowing hardly anything at all. I didn't know this was a Geordie film whatsoever.
I didn't. And to be fair, I've only seen the trailer post seeing the film because, much like you, I tried to avoid everything about it because I knew it was one that was going to be day one, and I felt like fresh eyes might be the best way of seeing this film. And I feel like it was. I quite liked going into 28 years later, not knowing that we'd evolved, like the walkers, for want of a better word, the infected. They'd evolved, that it wasn't just humans. Some of them had evolved into these slug-like creatures, and some became alphas. And the alphas were kind of fucking terrifying, mostly because they had the biggest fucking dick you've ever seen on screen. Like, there was just no need for it.
I mean, I did think surely that's got to be a prosthetic.
I kind of hope so. But it was just like, just put it in there, just put it in a bit of fucking shadow just once in a while. You don't
It
have to
would
have
be
your
the
cock
shadow.
front and, yeah. You don't have to have your cock front and centre of every fucking screen that you are on.
It was when
yeah.
when he's running in the train and it's swinging around a helicopter in itself.
Yeah, I thought this is gonna fucking take off in a minute.
But obviously I only knew that Linda's Farm was a thing because of the band. Never
Yeah.
known that to go there. I didn't really even know exactly where it was.
No, neither did I. Like, I've heard, it's not the causeway, is it the path between the,
Yeah, it's the causeway. Yeah.
is it called a causeway, that? Yeah.
Yeah.
That, I think, is actually a genius thing to use in horror. It's not something I've got, like, I don't really know much about it. This is probably the first thing I've ever really seen of it. But what a way to fucking ratchet up some tension, having this path that's only there at certain points in the day because it's uncrossable during high tide. I genuinely thought that was brilliant. Such a way that they could create their own community and be safe. But at the same time, there's that scariness that one false step and you're fucked. You're like washed away into the North Sea. Just brilliant. I was so impressed with that. And I didn't really know that was a thing in the real world.
It's 3 mile long. That actual one.
Okay. That scene where, it's not a spoiler. This, I think it's in the trailer. The scene where they're being chased by one of the alphas across the causeway. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Some just tremendous cinematography going on in that. Some of the actual camera shots and just like the wanky side of cinema, where you can see the moonlight hitting the water whilst you've got this monster, this great big hulking monster in it. just thought it was brilliant. It was so well done in that part.
Yeah, and there's the stuff like when it kept hints. There's stuff in the water around it as well that look terrifying.
Yeah.
Like obviously it's been 28 years of not having cars going across it, and you think, well, this is obviously going to be quite slimy now, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, that perfect. And I think, like growing up, not living there, and like I put in the group chat earlier, the only unrealistic thing is that no one mentions Alan Shearer, no one mentions Nuki Brown, and I thought there'd at least be a cameo, at least something to do with Newcastle.
Peter Beardsley.
Yeah, other than the Angel of the North. Yeah, you'd yeah, but you'd see Peter Beardsley and they'd try and shoot him in the neck, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they wouldn't fucking realise he wasn't a zombie. So, how do we talk about this without spoiling it? Right, okay. So, in the broadest sense of the world, it is about a young boy and his relationship with his father and his relationship with his mother. His mother is ill. We meet her at the beginning of the film. She is bedridden. His dad is pretty much a sort of hero in his own lunchtime, it kind of feels like. Like he's Bertie Big Bollocks on this island, and he wants to take him into the mainland to give him his first kill. And then he comes back after finding out about the doctor, which again, this is in the trailer. He finds out about the doctor, and he wants to take his mom then to see the doctor. I think that is all the spoiling will do, because that's what's in the trailer, so it's not really spoiling. It was an hour into this before I realised that Aaron Taylor Johnson was the dad. Like, I was just completely transfixed with him being this guy who really believed his shit didn't stink.
I thought them three in particular, him, the mom, which obviously no surprise.
Yeah,
and
Jodie Comer's just tremendous, isn't she?
And the kid, again, were incredible in this film. And for 95% of this film is better than the first one for me. I absolutely.
It's literally the ending, is it for you? That was,
yeah. It's not just the end. There's little bits here and there, like the very start of the film where you've got because when it says Shetland Islands, I thought, oh, okay, or no, it's Scotland Highlands, isn't it?
Hebridean, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah. I think it's in the Hebrides.
And you've got the crazy priest stuff, and that like when he's there and he's like, "Welcome, my children." I thought, well, this is not the same as the others. And then it just goes away, and then you come back to this super serious thing, and I like how it's all 1950s stuff as well, but 1950s mirrors and everything, and not anything from 2002 to wherever they're setting it in. But like some of the little like the things where she says like, "Is your dad silly with you?" and stuff like that. I said, well, no. Well, he wouldn't be, would he? Because he's a bellend.
Yeah.
But then they're pulling the faces thing, and her whole journey was just horrible. Everyone's seen someone with that kind of illness, and it's not nice. With treatment, let alone in this situation. But the whole idea of it, like you said, with the causeway and the gate, and in the school where they've got like the things set up on the wall, like what you're gonna be. Are you gonna be this? Are you gonna be this? They say you can they say you contribute to the community and all. It's all really clever and kind of think, yeah, this is the kind of thing that would have to happen.
Yeah.
And it gets when you get the explanation of why are we all here and why we're secluded, makes perfect sense. Excellent. And then, like you said,
it was genuinely very smart, I thought, throughout this film.
Yeah.
The world made sense because everything has to be practical in this world.
Yeah.
They can't do speculative nonsense that it might come off, because it might come off, it might result in the death of the community. So everything was practical, everyone was pulling their part. maybe Aaron Taylor Johnson's character being a bit of a prick was like the outlier to the community. He did good stuff, but he was also a risk to the community. Obviously, nearly bringing back an alpha. The one time that we see him go out with his kid.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think it was him because his accent was so convincing as well.
Yeah, I was really impressed with it. Seen some people say it wasn't that good. We're like, you sure? Because I didn't fucking realize it wasn't him.
I mean, I'm guessing that it's like we can spot it a mile off if someone's doing a fake Wolverhampton / Brummy
Yeah,
accent.
yeah,
But like the Grimleys, a lot of that was absolutely nailed on, weirdly
Mhm.
enough. And yet
yeah,
you go to Peaky Blinders and it's blatantly obvious a lot of the time
mm,
um, that it's wrong. But maybe that's what it is. If you're local to, I mean, I spend a lot of time obviously every year up there, that
mm,
part of the world. So I've got a lot of Geordie, Mac and Middlesbrough friends. So you got to get the indentation between the accents in, or the tiny little micro differences.
yeah.
I get it now after all this time. But if you're from there, I'm guessing that you probably know straight away that this is an imposter.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
for the vast majority of the rest of the world who don't care, I thought all of them, the accent wise, they were spot on.
Mm. I was really impressed with the kid as well.
Yeah,
Like, I wonder if it's an English thing. I wonder if English kids are good actors and the rest of the world are dog shit. Because I kind of feel like we've seen so many films over the last few years with English kids in there, and they're doing such a bang up job. And he was really good. Like this film is pretty much it does revolve around him. He's the central figure, acting with two big names, and
yeah,
he doesn't. Well, three big names because obviously
mm,
Conclave's in it as well. But like he holds his own with these top actors.
yeah. And I like that the whole thing. I mean, in a minute, um,
It,
like the whole just the common sense stuff about this building is not safe because there's been no one in it for 28 years.
yeah.
Makes perfect sense. Like herds of deer makes perfect sense. Like how these things have adapted,
Mm,
and it's not such a big stress because we already seen how the virus mutated into one host
yeah.
in London itself in the space of a month, let alone nearly 3 decades later. So these things happen in nature, and the whole thing is it in the trailer about what they do? The others,
The Jimmy.
the creatures. Let's just spoilers now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So spoilers. So right. I'm gonna make a note. Is when the spoilers start. Right. Okay. See, I think you've had enough time at this point. If you need to skip ahead, then you can skip ahead and where we'll be talking about what's the film we'll be talking about, Stu? Um, The Sorcerer's Apprentice we'll be talking about. So you've had 30 seconds at this point to jump ahead. I think we can now get into spoiler territory for 28 years later.
Right. As I was trying to not say, how that they can now breed. Um,
Yeah.
which on the face of it seems an incredibly stupid idea. But then you think, well, some of the most violent animals in nature breed.
Hmm.
And if this is what happens and things mutate and it goes back to animal instinct, which is what it seems, then obviously it makes perfect sense why this would happen.
Because they're not dead.
Yeah.
They're just sick, technically. So him, the alpha, I'm assuming it was the alpha who bred that woman because
Yeah.
he looked upset, didn't he?
Well, he's like a prime bull. He's probably shagged all of them, especially with the size of that thing.
Yeah. Knock someone's fucking face off with that. Yeah. When it happened, I was a bit like, hang on, this doesn't make any sense. But the same issue, it sort of clicked that these aren't dead. Like in 28, no, not 28, in Dawn of the Dead, the Zack Snyder film, when she gives birth to the zombie baby, like it sort of makes sense in that world because she got bit while she was carrying it. I get it. And with this one, I thought that doesn't add up with that initially. I thought it's like a zombie carrying it, but a zombie would be a dead person who wouldn't be able to gestate.
Yeah.
So actually, it does make sense in this world
Yeah,
and
'cause
make it terrifying.
all you need to do is eat and feed, which keeps them alive.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're clearly evolved enough to be like when they were like wildebeests in the stream washing themselves.
Yeah.
You thought, yeah, this makes. We've all seen Lion King. We know how this works.
Mm.
So it
But
does
that
make.
really is like the fucking nearest comparison, isn't it? Because they're just animals,
Yeah,
effectively. Yeah.
exactly. It makes perfect sense. And so you think, okay, so if these are clearly not people who were infected first along, this is many, many years down the line. So
Yeah.
eventually, like when he says, I thought this might happen,
Mm-hmm.
it is the whole nature versus nurture thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, if you are born because through one of these things, that if you then live a normal life, that is the thing. Will the blood will the blood do anything to anyone?
Intriguing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this baby is born seemingly normal. It doesn't have the red eye thing. So we think that they're not infected, but obviously the parents are from 2 infected people.
Yeah. So it's like, I guess it's like Neanderthal man. How
Mm.
other than the guy who took that horse into Bilston Weatherspoons once, most of them have gone.
Is that still on YouTube?
Yes, it is, because
Okay. No.
I bought the only reason it's on my mind still is because that someone didn't know the story, and she was saying because she was saying because being at the Tiger, why are people outside at 8 a.m? Or because they are. I said, but at least it's not like Bilston. She said, yeah, but when I drop the kids off at school, then I'll pop into Bilston, but it's later on. I went, yeah, but when you go later in the afternoon and you get people taking horses in there, and she had no idea. So
Yeah.
Bilston Weatherspoon's horse is still on YouTube. But
No, Bilston would be a good stand-in for this fucking one.
yeah, Neanderthal man died out. Why? Because it wasn't strong enough in the circle of life. So did Homo sapiens come from Neanderthal man? Probably. It's just an evolution. So it makes he's right. It makes sense if this would happen for it to go back on itself again.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued to see where this is going next. Like that's the one thing about this film. Like I haven't stopped thinking about it for 2 days, and we'll get to the ending because that does play a part in it. But I haven't stopped thinking about it, and I'm just so excited for January for the next part for Bone Tower. Is it?
Something like that.
I'm gonna have to Google it. But yeah, all I keep thinking is I cannot wait to see what comes next because there's so many threads open. The Bone Temple is the next one. So many threads open. I think this could go anywhere. And then apparently it's going to be part of a trilogy because, of course, it is. So we should be getting a third one, but apparently they don't have the funding for it yet. But if Danny Boyle and Cillian Murphy want to make a movie, you'd be out of your mind not to give them the money to try and make it.
Yeah, and
I'm very excited for it. I really enjoyed this film.
the Bone Temple itself. I mean, is it going to be called 28 years later, the Bone Temple, or is it just the Bone Temple?
28 years later, the Bone Temple is going to be the full title. I assume the Bone Temple will be in reference to Memento Mori, Conclave's. I was going to say trophy, but it's not really a trophy. It's his
shrine.
His shrine. It's his temple to deceased. It is about remembering that death is out there. That's such a kind of fucking cool thing to do as well.
That sequence with his mom, I actually had a tear. I actually did have to wipe a tear away. It was one of the best things I've seen all year.
It was really well done, wasn't it? Like I knew, like from the moment we met her, I knew she was dead because you don't show someone being sick if they're not them going to die at some point in the film.
Yeah,
that's just basic script writing 101, isn't it? But the way they did it by making us go on this journey with this kid, by first going on this journey with his father and him being scared and terrified, and then coming back and in spite of the horrors going on inside of him, he wanted to go back with his mom because he loves her and wants to protect her. And we go on this journey with them afterwards. For her then to accept that I'm not going back home and I'm going to have to leave my son with a fucking baby is kind of heartbreaking. And it was done with such maturity that it wasn't silly.
Yeah.
Like it didn't, like it felt,
I mean, when
there was a weight to it that needed to be there.
when you boil it down, I mean, well, literally boil it down.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's when you say, yeah, you got to take this kid's going to take his mom who's got some form of Alzheimer's, probably cancer, something else. He's going to take us to this crazy witch doctor in the middle of a apocalypse, where he's made a temple of bones that he's stripped of the flesh of, and he's then got to blow a dart into her back, kill her, boil her body, and then give the skull to the kid, who's then going to have to place the skull of his own mom on this tower. It's the stupidest thing in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it made absolute perfect sense.
Yeah. I thought Ralph Fiennes was fucking brilliant in this film.
Yeah.
Because all we know about Ralph Fiennes is he's a crazy man. He's a doctor who lost his marbles and started burning bodies. And when we finally meet him, and he's such a gentle soul, and he's just like the perfect, not carrion, because I suppose carrion is what the creature that carries people to death, isn't it? Like he's the ferryman at and the river Styx. He's just perfectly light and fair and nice and kind in this world of fucking horror and violence. He was brilliant in this. I'm a big fan of his work generally, but I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah. And a bit like Indiana Jones to Tomb Raider to Uncharted to Tomb Raider again. We have the stuff with, he's putting isotopes on him so he can walk amongst them.
Mm-hmm.
Classic Walking Dead.
Yeah. Really is. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so then the kid then drops off the baby because he doesn't want to return to the village. He wants to battle it out on his own. Whilst he's on his own, he gets cornered by a horde. And we meet Jack O'Connell's group.
So before, this film has got two endings, basically, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's got three endings. I thought when you had the baby on top of the hill, I thought that's where it was going to end first.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, great. 10 out of 10. Perfect film. And then he does the whole basket thing and somehow manages to run back across the 3 Mile Causeway. They've been seen.
Yeah, before getting caught. Yeah.
It's a film. Again, annoying because everything else had made perfect sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, we know there's a sequel coming to this, so
I didn't know. I didn't know there was a sequel coming.
Okay, fair enough.
And then for this fucking Jimmy Savile bollocks to come on, and you see someone in a shiny red tracksuit at the top of a landslide. I had no idea what was going. Like people were like, "What?" And for you then see the chain from the start of the film and think, okay, yeah, whatever. It's all. I mean, I'd completely forgot about it. I thought, well, this just doesn't matter. It's just showing another part of the country where this happened, and this is the backdrop. I'd completely forgotten about the cross, even though it's signposted to fuck it.
It's highlighted. They do highlight the cross being upside down when he's a kid, and as you say, throughout the film, we see a lot of upside down crosses, even when when they meet the infected guy who's hanging upside down in the house, and he's got Jimmy's written on his stomach.
Yeah,
like even stuff like that is an upside down cross. He's crucified upside down. It does play a role throughout the film.
I didn't know what it said. It makes
sense
now.
I only noticed IMMY.
Yeah,
Immy. But it wasn't until after that I it all clicks.
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
I just thought, it's some Roman numeral stuff. I just thought, well,
Well, yeah, IMM,
yeah.
150/50, is it? I think. So like, it could have been that. Yeah, if you don't know, you wouldn't necessarily make that joined up logic.
I mean, they've turned it from the most heartfelt film of the year into a comedy in the space of seconds. And people were so pissed off.
Really.
There were people, like, as they were walking, I think, what the fuck was that about? Was one. There was an older couple who were walking and said, well, they just ruined that film, didn't they? What was that about? And knowing now that it's like a why they could have just done, if they'd done that as a after credits thing, I don't think there'd have been as much of a problem with it.
I said this to Ash. I said
Because
the Marvel wankers would have loved it if that was a post-credit scene.
Because it then makes sense. Because then you've got your film as a thing, and then you've got that bit at the end as a trailer for what happens in January. That
I
works
mean,
perfectly.
it still makes sense. It is still a coda to the story that has been told. It's just there's no gap in between it. And I think that modern audiences have become conditioned to that gap. We don't need post-credit scenes, to be perfectly honest.
We-
Tell the story.
Yeah, and I get it.
And you are, because we did have a conclusion. He left that baby. That is the conclusion of the story.
Yeah.
What happened from that point on is effectively a post-credit scene as we come to know it. It just isn't shown post-credits.
Yeah. And I think by doing that, it pissed people off. And it is effectively a trailer. That's all that is. It's a trailer for a film that's, if it is, like you said, 28 years later, The Bone Tower or whatever the hell.
Yeah, Bone Temple. Yeah.
Then it's clearly, like we were talking about an hour ago, so the Tales of the Walking Dead. It's something else. It's side adjacent. Then it makes perfect sense, which is why I've kind of calmed down about it over the last few days.
Yeah, same.
Because it is not the same. But putting it at the end of a film as heartfelt as that was a big mistake for me. And I think a lot of people felt the same and were very annoyed. And you can see in the reviews and what people have been saying, and I get it. I just didn't enjoy it.
The issue is, personally, the tone is completely different.
Exactly.
It's gone, for as you say, it's a dramatic, it is heartfelt, there is action and violence, and it's overwhelming in parts, to slapstick, to 70s kung fu, to people dressed up like Jimmy Savile, and they are wearing tracksuits, like the chiffon looking tracksuits. I have a theory.
With blonde hair?
With long blonde hair. They are Jimmy Savile. They are the Jimmys. Each character. So he's Jimmy Crystal. Jack O'Connell's character is. The others are Jimmy something. So they're the Jimmys because Jimmy's all their first name. So this might be way off base, and I don't know. But the start of the film, we see the kids sat around watching the Teletubbies. So we're looking at late 90s. Yep. 28 years ago would be what, 97? So we're looking at late 90s. In the late 90s, Jimmy Savile was a weird but sort of loved public figure in the UK. We didn't know he was a monster. There was always speculation that we've now found out that people knew about shit. But the wider public, he was a character of comedy, but he wasn't hated because we didn't know that he was this paedophile monster scumbag. So this person, this Jimmy, who is the kid who takes his father's cross, we see that cross upside down. An upside down cross is a symbol of the Antichrist. Jimmy Savile is someone who was loved, but then sort of found out that he is this Antichrist. The next film's about the Antichrist, and he is that character. He is this one who is both good and evil. That's where I think this is going. I think it's going to be both. I think it's going to be an exploration of how pop culture warps our minds. because I think that's why we had the Teletubbies. We're showing the period of time we're in, and it's a case of how perception changes because of pop culture. And we're in a world of post-pop culture world, because it's post-apocalyptic. I think that's what the next film's gonna be. It's gonna be an exploration of that. Gonna be an exploration of people who are obsessed with film and TV. As my camera zooms in on all the DVDs that are behind me. I think that's what this is gonna be.
And the fact that they had the rock version of the Teletubbies theme tune as well, as they were slaughtering things. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is, and that was my first thought as well. That obviously Jimmy Savile was not. I mean, people still dressed up as Jimmy Savile back then.
Yeah.
People still walked around with medallions on in fire hazard tracksuits. It was a thing.
Yeah.
Everyone had the blonde wig and the big glasses, and
Mhm.
the only thing missing is the cigars, and obviously they're not going to have them. It was. That's the thing. It's so annoying because it's brilliant. It's a brilliant idea to
Yeah.
have these people worshipping someone who they don't know. No, they do in demon form. It's so stupid. He could be there. He could
In theory, it's a separate universe. Yeah, you are right.
he could be there. A demon Jimmy Savile could be in charge of it all.
I think when the Jimmies jumped down to rescue him, I think if they didn't do it in 70s style kung fu, and I understand why they used it, because that would have been tape trading stuff back in the day. That would have been your Bruce Lees and all those things. I remember the 90s quite well, and that was a big thing back then. If they hadn't have gone with slapstick, if they'd have come down and had baseball bats and just beat the shit out of the infected, I don't think there'd be the furore. I think it's just that it was 70s kung fu and it made it look a little bit silly.
Yeah.
But I think it's genius. I think it's genius. I think it's just slightly misplaced.
It's too clever for its own good.
Yeah.
Um,
But the thing is, though, I walked out and I literally sat there for 2 or 3 minutes after the film, open mouthed, trying to take it all in. And I walked out and thought, I cannot fucking wait for the next film. It's done its job. Like, I'm so excited for the next film now.
Yeah, it's done its job, but at what cost? Because
The next film will define how good this film truly is.
Yeah.
If it flops, then this flops, I think. On the grand scheme, not fiscally.
I just think
I think so.
it was so good to not need it. I think people would have gone and see it, and anything with 28 based at all. Well, as shown with this anyway. But to have a film this good before that silliness, people would have been queuing straight away. It didn't need to go this way. But then if you come to the next film and it is like this all the way through, and you're gonna have people thinking, what the hell is this?
It's
So
gonna be interesting. It's gonna be something to behold.
Yeah.
And I think Killian is gonna be in the next film. The plan is, I think he's got a smaller role in the next one, and he should be a main part of the third one, apparently.
Yeah. We all thought he was going to be in this one, didn't we? And
yeah, yeah. I hadn't realised until the very end. I was like, "Where's Killian?" But Ash said to me that he'll be in the next one.
Yeah,
but Danny Wall said that the third one is his film, or at least a big part of it.
Did you read that thing about the guy in the field as well?
Well, everyone thought that was him. Like, how fucked off would you be if you were Cillian Murphy and some like almost, when I say mutant, but like a very deformed looking human being? That's definitely him. Like, fuck it isn't, mate.
But the bloke himself was pissed off because people thought it wasn't him, and then he didn't believe him.
Overall, Stu, where do you fall on this one?
I mean, we've got 2 days afterwards now. It's going to take a long time to get over that. But again, I'm not going to forget it, so I'm torn. If it had ended, like I said, if it had ended with the baby and him, or just walking back to the thing, I think it would have been my film of the year.
Okay.
Honestly, I absolutely adored it. That nonsense put me in a very bad mood, and I had to go to the Nickelodeon afterwards for a pint. At this moment in time, it's going to have to be like a 7 or 8. Long term, that could change. Like we said, we'll assess that in January. But bizarre choice to end something so almost perfect.
It's a brave choice. It's a big fucking swing to end it the way they did. I didn't hate it. I didn't. It was weird and I was confused. But the further away I get from it, the more I appreciate that they tried something. And I really want to go and see it again. I am quite tempted to go again this week, but I kind of want to see Elio as well. But like, I want to see it again, and like it's almost brought out the film student in me because I want to see the beats throughout the film, how they got to that point. I'm really intrigued by it. I agree that. I mean, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5 stars kind of thing personally. So 8 out of 10. I'm sort of in agreement with you there. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Can't wait for the next one. Right, okay, I'm going to make a note of the tone next. 1, 3, 2, and I'll put that timestamp in. So we'll be talking about that Cage film that I mentioned earlier, The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Quick break here then. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for the final part of the podcast where we'll be talking about The Sorcerer's Apprentice starring Nick Cage and Jay Baruchel. I was kind of excited about this one, Stu, because like when we spoke about it last week, it sounded vaguely interesting. And my first thought was, it kind of sounds like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, and I don't know why. And like watching it, I can see where they were trying to emulate Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, just massively unsuccessfully in comparison to it. Obviously, setting it in New York, you do have that immediate parallel to Spider-Man, but anyway, right. So this is a film following Dave Stutler, a physics student in New York who discovers he's the prime Merlinian, a chosen successor to the legendary wizard Merlin. He's recruited by Balthazar Blake, Nick Cage, a centuries-old sorcerer, to help stop the resurrection of the dark sorceress Morgana Le Fay. As Dave trains in magic, he struggles to balance his new powers, a budding romance with his childhood crush Becky, and the threat posed by Morgana's loyal follower, Maxim Horvath. When Morgana is finally released, Dave must rely not only on his magic but his scientific ingenuity to defeat her and save the world. The film blends modern-day action with ancient magical lore, culminating in a high-stakes battle in Manhattan. Bored shitless ship. Oh, it was really dull. I was so disappointed. Oh dear. There was something there and it just fell a bit flat.
I've only ever seen this film once, and which is why I was so excited, because I remember loving this. And you got to think at the time it's on the whole. There's like a trend, wasn't there, of like young adult films, I guess you'd say, like Percy Jackson and on the back of Harry Potter and all that kind of stuff. None of which I watched. This I did watch. And I loved it. And then I watched it again, and I thought I was absolutely right. This is amazing. And I genuinely, I couldn't believe it's 15 years old now, which is mental in itself. But the whole thing of it, I thought it was very classy of them not to. It set it like the start of the film being set in 2000, not to show the Twin Towers in any way.
Yeah.
Shape or form. I thought, yeah, okay, you've got round a problem that's only 9 years old at this point, and using the Empire State Building with a little drawing on the window. I thought, yeah, class.
I liked that. That was pretty cool with the Kong. Yeah.
But it felt like a film from a long time before that. It felt like a kind of adventure film that we used to watch in the 80s, in a way.
Yeah, I can see that.
So maybe that's why I love it so much, because that was my entire childhood. So I'm imagining someone being 9, 10. Because I asked Alana about this earlier, and she watched. That's why I know it, because I watched it with her.
Okay.
So she would have been 8, 7 or 8, something like that at the time.
Mhm.
And that being part of her childhood, oh, I love that film. It's amazing. I watch it every year.
Mm.
Really? And it very much is a kind of an age thing again, where this is. You look at that time period for us. There's no way. I mean,
Mm.
I got married that year. I wasn't watching this out of choice in the cinema, other than the fact that I've got a young niece. So
Mm.
this is why. But everything about it, I thought visually, it for the vast majority of the time still holds up a lot better than films now.
Yeah, the CG and stuff in it is pretty solid, to be fair, surprisingly so.
Yeah, even like the Beetlemen and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And when you think, yeah, okay, this is where things normally break down, when you've got a lot of compute units on screen at once and it all overlaps and clips into it. No, just works. Perfectly
Mm.
fine. And
Yeah,
the dragon bit was brilliant. He's
I
flying
like that
Chrysler.
bit.
He's flying Chrysler building bits. That,
Mhm.
well, yeah,
That was good. Like, there are some pretty decent elements to it. I do think that graphically, I do think it's really well made. It's a really well constructed film. I think my issue was it was a bit too juvenile. I
yeah,
think I went in expecting it to be pitched at, as you say, young adult. It's gonna be your Hunger Games crowd. It's gonna be late teens, early 20s, and it's not. You're probably right when you say that it was. Did you say that Alana was 8, 9 when she saw this? I can sort of get that, to be fair, that it is gonna be pitched at your tween audience at the eldest end, I'd imagine.
yeah, probably.
Mm.
Yeah, you're probably talking like 14 max, I guess.
Yeah.
So, like, something like Escape Witch Mountain that we had and things
Mhm.
like that, Flight of the Navigator, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Put it in the same bracket as them kind of things
Mm.
for me. Um, but that's a perception thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but like you knew straight away from like, the choice of songs at the start. Is that in the middle?
It was so fucking 2000s coded music. It really like, there were some parts where they played music and I was like, "Is this just the music video?" Because it looked like it, like the song took over the whole thing,
Yeah,
and I was just like, "This is weird and doesn't fit at all." It and they weren't bad songs. They're songs that I kinda like, but they just felt massively out of place in this film.
as did Cage looked like he stepped out off the Matrix set.
Yes, he did, didn't he? He
But
looked like The Matrix meets Jonah Hex almost.
Jonah Hex been another film of this time, yeah.
Yeah.
But has he ever looked better? I don't think he has.
He looks great in this film, doesn't he? That wig is doing a fucking tremendous job. Yeah,
But
he
that
looks in good nick, ironically enough.
but back then, I mean, it's based on a look from the early 2000s, obviously, because that's when he got put in the urn. But
Mhm.
I've said that before about watching The Matrix for the first time and running up the wall outside New Cross to see if we could do it. And we all wanted coats, big waxy leather coats like that.
Mhm.
We all did. We all wanted long hair, which I then got and then lost.
Him.
It's a it's like it was built into this mountain. It was like, and he had the fingerless gloves as well, which I had at one point. Um, but there was just something about it, and I don't think I never really had the nostalgia for it because I watched it once
Mm.
15 years ago. But maybe less because of how old she was at the time, maybe on DVD, maybe. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I I don't know why. I just really, really enjoyed this film.
No, I get the feeling that if there was nostalgia for it, I could understand why people would enjoy it. But not having seen it before, I didn't come to it and think, "This is great." I kind of liked, there was a joke, a Star Warsy joke where
Yeah.
Toby Kebbell's in this film. Post Dead Man's Shoes, Toby Kebbell doing this nonsense. But yes, these are not the droids you're looking for. I laughed at that. And obviously there's the scene where the brooms and stuff start walking like in Fantasia.
Yeah.
I thought that's cool. And then I read and found out that this film was inspired by that scene in Fantasia. And I thought, so you've just inspired it on a dance sequence of kitchen utensils and stuff. That's not enough to make a film.
Well, and the fact that
that
Cage
con-
wanted to.
Yeah. But like, I just felt like that there wasn't enough put in at the beginning to make this an interesting idea long term throughout the film. Personally,
They made Pirates of the Caribbean out of a ride.
they're terrible as well. So there you go. First one's okay. Second one onwards, terrible.
We've never done them. That could be one.
I gave up after the third one, I think.
I haven't seen the last one. So is that for 4 of the 5?
The first one was okay, but I'm not a big fan. And second one is one of the worst films I've ever seen. Don't know why I even saw the fucking third one,
but this is why, because these are it's in the same kind of genre as this.
Yeah, you're right.
It's family adventure films. That's what they are.
Yeah. That's not really my cup of tea, to be perfectly honest. The opening sequence I hated. It was like a fucking 20-minute solid exposition dump.
Oh god, yeah.
That was terrible. Like, that was not needed because it was then explained again throughout the film. So why they did that, I don't particularly understand. And again, the bad for me is that it just kind of isn't really pitched right. I feel like they could have done something if they'd aged it up just a little bit more. Either aged it up more or down more, but it just sort of fell in the middle and didn't really please anybody, I didn't feel.
I mean, you look at the poster and it's got the same kind of typeface as Underworld.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think if they'd have gone for a 15-year-old version of Underworld, they could have done something rather than what they did. Like, a lot of the films around this time, these young adult movies, they were obviously based on novels and stuff that had already been released and had an inbuilt audience. And I feel like this was trying to tap into that, but they just kind of misfired and hit a bit too young.
Well, there you are. It's hot words on IMDb: quest, action, adventure, family, fantasy. I think that kind of sums it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's got a 6.1 on IMDb, so it does fall into that very mid-range, doesn't it? And I can absolutely agree with that, because it's not a terrible film. Like, I didn't watch it and think this is an awful movie. I watched it and thought this is just a bit dull. So like, I can completely agree that it should be that sort of 3 out of 5, because it's just mid. It's just mid. That's all it is. Have you got anything good or bad to add to it?
I mean, I thought Cage was. I mean, reading the IMDb trivia that he wanted to make a film about magic, so they made this film. So he was completely involved in the whole thing, and you can kind of tell because he goes way above and beyond in this at times. Yeah. Like, think, why is he being so good in this film? And Alfred Molina's just pissing about.
Mm-hmm. I did like it when Alfred Molina came up, because as I said, I was expecting sort of Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. So it was nice to then see Sam Raimi's Doc Ock in there. I thought that was kind of cool.
And MCU Doc Ock in it as well, remember?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole note thing being the kind of thing that people did at school as well. That was pretty clever. But the fact, I mean, the crazy, I mean, straight up, the fact that car that he drove is Nicolas Cage's actual car, and it's a one of a kind.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It's like, why would you trust them to use that?
Because he drove it.
Especially because he's such a fucking car head. Like,
Yeah.
That man's a maniac. But he clearly, obviously, this was a passion project for him, wasn't it? Then,
Yeah.
you can tell. Fair play.
It says that they were after a car from a time period, and he had one, and so he used it himself.
Fair fucks. At least if you're going to do it, you're going to be driving the car, and you think, well, okay,
Yeah.
it's all on me then, at least.
Yeah, like all the mirror stuff as well. I thought that was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, like I do think it was really well put together. It just had no particular interest for me.
I think the worst for me, the bad for me, is the fact that this is the only one. Which you look at it and you think, how much money has been spent on this film? It's got a
Yeah.
decent rating for what it is. There's been a lot of others, again, like Percy Jackson. They've got fucking loads of sequels. And this is not, no sequel planned. Yeah,
No.
you'd expect, especially in the era that we're living in, maybe we're 5 years away in the rule of 20. But the Sorcerer's Apprentice 2 comes out on the 20th anniversary of it.
I think we were at that period of time where they were looking for franchises to hit the ground. This cost them 150 million to make, and it only made 215 back. So it cleared its production budget, but it obviously didn't make a profit to the film. So I think that's all it came down to. If this ended up being 500 mil plus, there would have been a dozen of these films. But just because it didn't make the production and advertising budget back, I think that's pretty much what killed it dead.
Yeah, maybe 5 years too late.
Potentially, or 5 years too early.
Yeah.
Because the age they are pitching at, if they got that right, that is a market that will spend, because they're young enough to be telling their parents what they want to go and see. So you're getting 4 tickets there, not just, 2. You're getting the 2 kids, the 2 parents, that's it. If they're a bit older, then you're probably just getting the 2 kids. So, yeah. So I think they just got it just wrong, if I'm honest with it. I can absolutely say, looking on IMDb, 40% on the critic and 53 on the audience. I get it. I get it being very, you either liked it or you didn't, just stay in the middle. It's one thing or the other, because it's just lacking. One thing that disappointed me slightly, Omar Benson Miller's in this film. I really like him, and he's in it for all of 3 seconds. And same with Monica Bellucci as Veronica.
Yeah.
Put her on screen more. She's brilliant.
It's always
They've had some really good people that they just didn't use anywhere near enough.
because she wasn't. It wasn't like she was unknown at this point.
No, look, she's Monica fucking Bellucci. People know who she is. And yeah, she's in it for just like the smell of a fart, and that's it. And I'm like, okay, is that all she's around for? But yeah, Omar Benson Phillip, he'd done a few bits, and he's on the rise at this point. And he's just Dave's mate. That's all he is. Like, he's just on the end of the phone once. Okay. Toby Kebbell plays this weird guy. Like, Toby Kebbell is, again, if you're pitching a film at that sort of audience, these are the kind of actors that you want to have front and center, not being the dipshit mates of other actors. Like, Toby Kebbell's kind of cool, and they made him to be a bumbling dickhead. But actually, Alfred Molina probably would have been the better bumbling dickhead to Toby Kebbell's badass villain. Just little bits. I just feel like they just got it wrong.
I'm guessing you didn't watch the post-credit scene then.
I did, and don't we just see like the silhouette of somebody?
Yeah, he picks his hat up. So
that's it. Yeah, I did. I skipped through it just on the off chance there was something, but like, in all fairness, like, we don't really see anything.
Yeah, he's not dead. There you are.
Yeah,
so he's set up for a sequel that never happened.
It would have been better if they'd have like thrown in, I don't know, another famous wizard. I don't know famous wizards, like fucking Dumbledore. Like, if just somebody had appeared who wasn't someone who we'd seen through the film, that could have made it a little bit exciting. But no.
Well, I'm sure that the blue hat from Fantasia was in there as well, obviously.
Yes. There was the few bits and bobs, I think, that they intimated to some of the influences.
Yeah.
The problem is the influences on this film are so sort of lackluster that there's not enough there to build a film off of it.
I mean, there is the interesting part as well, like the droids reference. Before Disney bought Star Wars, how many times did that actually happen in other films?
Hmm. Yeah, because I mean, lines like that, they're so like widely known within the pop culture. Would they needed to have cleared it with Lucasfilm? Potentially. I don't know, because I don't know if there's enough words that can then be trademarked.
Yeah.
Because like, there's certain fair use nonsense that you can get around those things. Interesting. Stu, did you enjoy the film?
Yeah. I enjoyed it back then.
Would you watch it again? Like, would you show it to your kids now?
Absolutely. 100%.
Hmm.
No, I
I think they'd
didn't
get it.
I think Ethan would. But he's 14.
Okay.
I think the stupidness of the black nail polish and all that kind of stuff, and him kind of mincing around in a shit way. I think he kind of get that, he'd laugh at that kind of. I mean, very much he watched the Scream films with me, so he's got the kind of varying scale of stuff as well. But again, he's set right in the middle because Corey wouldn't watch this. No way, he's 8.
No.
He wouldn't watch it. So, but I didn't want to watch it with him because I thought, well, I can't remember it that much if he'll be bored or not.
Fair.
But he'll sit there and watch stuff on Netflix in his room, and you think, well, what are you watching this for? And he's both ends of the thing, both ends of the scale. Like he started watching Walking Dead.
Okay.
Then you go up and he's watching like clips of Pimp My Ride on YouTube, and he's just 20 years old. Yeah, but guy's got a telly in his car. And everyone's got a telly in the car. It's called a phone.
That's mental.
But yes, I enjoyed it.
I mean, I didn't particularly enjoy it, but I'm very much not the target audience. This isn't made for me, and I don't have the nostalgia for it, so I don't think I was ever going to like it. Like, I think when it was out originally, I'd have been far too old for it then. So looking back at it now, no, not for me. Cage good, Cage bad. I thought he was good because you could tell that he clearly gave a shit about this one.
Yeah, exactly like we said. He tried way too much for what was needed. I mean, he could have phoned this in, and there's only like Crazy Cage in the shop at the very start.
Yeah.
He raised his voice at him. He's like, "Oh, Dave," he went, "Huh, your name's on your bag." Like, yeah, really for a ride here.
I liked his interactions with Alfred Molina, and I'm kind of sad that there's not more of them two in films because I kind of want to see them bouncing off each other. I thought they were pretty good together. Right, if you enjoyed The Sorcerer's Apprentice, you may also like. Stu, what have you got?
Weirdly, National Treasure.
Okay. I can see that big sort of adventure, a family adventure kind of film. Obviously, it's slightly straighter down the middle, isn't it, than the magic and nonsense.
What was the one? I never watched it. Was it Journey to the Center of the Earth? Was that? No, that's not the right one, is it?
The one with Will Ferrell.
Yeah, that's not the one I'm thinking of. Which Mountain with a rock?
Okay. Race to Which Mountain was it? Was that?
Yeah, that's the one. That's obviously a remake of one from the past, which I never watched it because I like I remember watching the original quite a lot back in the day. But they're all in their kind of. I mean, Night at the Museum. They're in the similar kind of vein as well.
Yeah, I get that.
So there's plenty to choose from.
Yeah, there really are. Like I've mentioned Spider-Man, Sam Raimi Spider-Man's. I think it's a very similar world, but better. If you were a bit older, maybe Season of the Witch is kind of like big and fun and silly bollocks. Again, with Nick Cage wearing a great wig. Stardust, I think, is probably the one though.
Yeah.
The all age, magical, beautiful, wonderful film. I love Stardust. I think it's a tremendous movie. So I think
Great
that's
soundtrack.
probably the one for me. Great soundtrack, yeah. Even if it's fucking take that, it's really good. And it's a very early Henry Cavill film as well. Might be one of his first roles.
I haven't seen
Yeah.
Stardust for probably. I watched it when it came out on Blu-ray, and I haven't seen it even since. So that's a long
Well,
time.
2007 film, so I'm guessing probably 2008 then, since you last saw it.
8, 9, yeah, it's got to be. Probably about as long as it goes this.
It's the type of film that, for some reason, occasionally appears on 4 or Film 4 and stuff like that. And if it's ever on, I will give it a watch because it's just such an enjoyable movie.
It feels very
Really well done.
Christmas. That's never on at Christmas.
Yeah, I get that. I'm only just realizing that it's fucking Charlie Cox's Daredevil is the main guy in it. I hadn't realized that. But it's a good cast, really. Claire Danes, Henry Cavill, Michelle Pfeiffer, Ben Barnes is in it, Sienna Miller. Yeah, good film. Lovely. Right, okay. So, what we do? Do we do the top 5 next week that we were planning on doing this week, or do we do the Jan to June review? What do you reckon, Jim?
Will June be over? Yes, it will.
Yeah. Because it'll be the first podcast that we're putting out in July.
Don't you think? Will I have seen F1 by then?
That's out on Wednesday?
Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday or Thursday. I'm hoping to try and get that in. Yeah, try and get that in this week.
Yeah, I'll get it in this week. Yeah, then we can do it. Yeah. Well, there's nothing else on after that, is there? Because Jurassic Park is July.
Yeah, I've got that booked in already as well. So let's do the top 5 next week, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, then we can do June the week after.
Yeah, that gives us a bit of time then to review it. Lovely.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So we'll be doing the top 5 sub 90-minute films from 2000 to 2019, and we'll be watching Sonny, which is Nick Cage in the director's chair.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only time he's been in the director's chair. So I don't know if this is going to be an absolute bloodbath of a film or quite what to expect from it. Because why would he never return to direct anything else? Like, it's a bit of a strange one. He plays a character called Acid Yellow. Right, it is an honorably discharged soldier returns home to New Orleans, hoping to break away from his upbringing as a trained prostitute, but his brothel madam mother has other expectations. So it is it is directed by Nicolas Cage, written by John Carlin, who isn't a name I'm immediately familiar with. Let's have a look at his writing credits. Oh, he's done nothing since Sonny. Lethal Vows, High Sierra, Search and Rescue, Sworn to Vengeance, Blindside, Wild Texas Wind, Dark Justice. I don't know what any of these things are. It's starring James Franco, Brenda Blessing, Mina Savari, Harry Dean Stanton. Oh, that's not a terrible cast. I'm scared. This might be terrible. But yeah, that's what we'll be doing next week then. So let me just change that over on the spreadsheet so that I don't get that wrong. Make sure you've got us on whatever podcast you're listening to us on. And if you give us 5-star review, we would love that very much. Stu, what were you going to say?
It says a film by Nicolas Cage, like not directed by, a film by.
I mean, time will tell. Don't know what to say about this one. Okay, if you've got anything you want to get in contact with us, it's at Cage Fighting Pod on socials, and it's cagefightingpod@gmail.com on the emails. Stu, for this week, would you like to say goodbye?
Yes, it was a figurative urn. Goodbye.
It's goodbye from me too. And remember, be excellent to each other.